Joining us now is Ojy Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Janix.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
Yes.
Did you introduce me as Ojunika with the T's? I think I heard that.
Yes, I called you Ojunika.
Yeah,
your full name.
I'll learn when you get to use that. Good morning, Tundu. Good morning. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, Ojy. How are you?
Good, thank you. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Tuesday became the first sitting Prime Minister to be found guilty of breaking the law after he and Secretary of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak, were fined by the police over lockdown-breaking parties held on government properties in Downing Street and Whitehall, while the rest of the country was living under strict pandemic restrictions. The Metropolitan Police issued more than 50 fines as part of their Operation Hillman investigation into the gathering. In the United States, Tesla CEO Elon Musk's huge Twitter investment took a new twist on Tuesday with the filing of a lawsuit alleging that the billionaire illegally delayed disclosing his stake in the social media company so he could buy more shares at lower prices. And Japan's former princess, Mako Komuro, the granddaughter of Emperor Akihito, who gave up her royal titles and a $1.3 million payout to marry a commoner, Kei Komuro, is now reported to be working as an unpaid volunteer at New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. Under sports, a court date has been set for the trial of former FIFA officials Sepp Blatter and Michel Platini to be heard before a panel of 3 judges for 11 days from June 8th to June 22nd. The trial will begin more than 6.5 years after criminal proceedings were opened, first against Blatter for a 2011 payment of 2 million Swiss francs he authorized FIFA to make to Platini, and then against Platini, who sent a written request to FIFA in January 2011 to be paid backdated additional salary for working as a presidential advisor in Blatter's first term from 1998 to 2002. Finally, under entertainment, tributes pour in for legendary stand-up comedian and actor Gilbert Gottfried, who died from a heart disorder on Tuesday. The comedian was known for his raw Scotch voice and crude jokes. He first came to national attention with frequent appearances on MTV in its early days and had a brief stint in the cast of Saturday Night Live in the 1980s. Gottfried was also a voiceover artist for children's television and movies and was famous for playing the parrot Lago in Disney's Aladdin. He was 67 years old.
I'm ready to take a chance again, ready to put my love on the line with you.
May his soul rest in peace. Let's begin what's trending. In the wake of the killings in Plateau State, Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari resolved on Tuesday that the perpetrators will not be allowed to escape justice. Over the weekend, gunmen attacked 4 villages in Kannam local government area of the state and killed an unconfirmed number of residents. Buhari, in a statement issued by presidential spokesman Garba Shehu, condemned the attacks and urged residents of the state to work with security agencies in providing information on the perpetrators. Well, in another development, Nigerians have reacted to the statement issued by the presidency, acknowledging that former Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, has commended President Muhammadu Buhari's handling of the security challenges in the country. Well, let's take some reactions. This is from Senator Shehu Sani, who wrote, "Dear Ban Ki-moon, come to Kaduna and Zamfara and spend 2 days. Thank you." Well, Sir John Lewis wrote, "Never knew the organization you so rep is this weak. Having seen the number of killings on the Nigerian plateau, you have the right thinking cap to thank Buhari for what?" Well, this comment has caused outrage. Dr. Abati, you were a former presidential aide. I mean, it just depends on the type of statement you guys release, right? But I mean, Garba Shehu has come under fire for releasing this type of statement, especially now that, the president has even, added his voice to the killings in Plateau. Only yesterday, 23 people were killed in Benue State. And this is just, I mean, really appalling that it came out at this moment. Tundu Abiola.
Well, another massacre in Benue State, another massacre in Plateau. And you know, Plateau is the state of peace, isn't it? All those states like have a name. And this is what's happening in the states of peace. It's actually full-on depressing, as I've said repeatedly this morning. And yes, I think I've commented on this before in a previous episode. I'm sure the thesaurus that either Maryam Garba, Shehu, or Femi Adesina use must be really thin around the pages, looking for different words to try and express the same sentiment. How many different ways can you express, I don't know, condemnation for a dastardly act? And the perpetrators will be brought to justice. We've heard this repeatedly, and nothing changes. It's downright depressing at this point. As for Ban Ki-moon, I want to believe that he was given selective information because there has been progress made in the Northeast. I want to believe that that's what he was referring to. Okay. Otherwise, he's just completely incorrect. It's completely inaccurate. And when you're inaccurate about a situation like security where people are dying, it's actually a bit of an insult. I just really want to believe that he's focused on that.
You always give people the benefit of the doubt.
I have to.
You always do.
You have to. I think that's the only decent human thing to do. I'm going to get into a lecture about that. You must give benefit of the doubt. If you can give somebody nothing else, don't just jump to the worst possible conclusion. I want to believe that. Because what is happening in the Northwest, I don't want to cry, it's actually, it's depressing. Yeah. And the North Central, the Southeast, the Southwest, everywhere, we are suffering. We're going through hell right now. It's really, it's almost unbearable at this point.
Absolutely right. Dr. Abati.
Well, the persons who speak for the president in the face of these continuous killings, incessant attacks, candidly, it's very difficult to expand your vocabulary other than say it's horrific, it is tragic, the perpetrators will be brought to justice. This time around, no, Garbashi even tried. He said the perpetrators must not be forgiven. You know, that's also a way of putting the matter. But the truth of the matter is that Nigeria faces very serious security challenge. Where would the fire next time come from? Almost on a daily basis. Northeast, Northwest, Middle Belt, you know, even in the South here, where people are not being killed, people are being kidnapped on a daily basis. So we all live, you know, in a pressure cooker society with, you know, many difficulties. When people leave home in the morning, you know, when they come back in the evening, they thank their God because you don't know, anything can happen to you. The road lies in wait, as it does in Professor Wole Soyinka's play of the same title, The Road. Okay, so we're living dangerously at the edge of the precipice. Now, this, of course, may not be clear to Mr. Ban Ki-moon, former UN Secretary General, who is, well, originally a diplomat and a politician. So he may have been very diplomatic, and he doesn't live in Nigeria. He probably just returned from a trip to the moon, and he may not have been he may not have been monitoring the news because I mean the tragedy of incessant killings in Nigeria, of insecurity in Nigeria, is very well reported, you know, out there. But if you just return from the moon and you are Mr. Ban Ki-moon and you pick the phone to talk to the president of Nigeria, you may be forgiven for not knowing the latest that has happened. Because it is curious that in the context of all these killings, it's the same time that a diplomat is commending President Buhari when the people who live inside Nigeria, the Northern Elders Forum, speaking through Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, the same day, they issued a statement saying that, look, maybe the president should resign because the Constitution says you don't have to stay there permanently. If for any reason you think you can carry on, you can step down. You know, and that's the Northern Elders Forum saying so. If it was Ohaneze Indigo, if it was Afenifere, some people may read ethnic meanings into it. Or if it was a Christian Association of Nigeria or Catholic Bishops' Conference, you may read religious meanings into it. But this is, you know, these are the representatives of the Connaught saying that, yes, we voted for our man, but we think that his performance has been below par. However, Mr. Ban Ki-moon said something that I think made sense to me when he talked about, when he thanked the president for appointing Professor Ibrahim Gambari and also for supporting Mrs. Mohammed, the UN Deputy Secretary General, both of whom worked with Mr. Ban Ki-moon. And he made a point that, these two persons, both Mrs. Amina Mohammed and Professor Ibrahim Gambari, are two of the best that Nigeria has produced and that he has been privileged to work with. And I think that in that regard, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, is very right. He's on point.
Fine.
So for me, I'll start with Ban Ki-moon first. So Ban Ki-moon saying security got better in the north.
Oh, he was commending
security.
Commending Buhari for...
Ban Ki-moon is South Korean, right?
Yes.
So for me, it's akin to Ban Ki-moon saying that North Korea is the bastion of civility and democracy. That's what it looks like for me. That's my comment on Ban Ki-moon. The insecurity, I'd just like to ask, if we were to use the blood of every Nigerian shed for over 12 years to write a letter of the sorrow in this country, how many letters would we have written now as a nation? Nothing shows how deadly and terrible things are. Like the day the Minister of Information came out to say that we're doing well in terms of security, and voila, there was an attack that day. For me, the scary part is, and we shouldn't be partisan, it's not a case of APC or PDP, because I'm more scared for Nigeria as a country, because it's the only country I know. I don't have another passport. And one problem has gone on for over 12 years. We first said Goodluck Jonathan was a problem because he wasn't vast in terms of security. So we voted in a general. In fact, we shouted to the high heavens then that you remember what this general did in Chad and how he chased the Metisani out. And we were happy. This country jubilated and celebrated when President Muhammadu Buhari was voted in. People popped champagne that the general will resolve all of this. But that same general has failed. So the question is, who will fix it? Because we all thought President Buhari was in charge of the 3rd Division, right? In Jos. That was stationed in Jos that chased Metisani away. There was that famous instruction given that even when he chased them into the Chadian border, he kept on going and President Shagari was saying, please, come back, come back, come back. And we all roared. We all rooted for President Buhari to do well. Then we see this. So my fear is, what happens next? I've not been sleeping well lately because, you see, we keep talking about this thing because it's not affected us personally. God sees my heart. I still want President Buhari, to do well, to come up with solutions, to end all of this once and for all. How are we sure that anybody comes in next as leader will have solution to the problem? So it's deeper than what we think it is.
All right. We'll take another story. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, on Tuesday, accused media professionals referring to President Muhammadu Buhari as a major general of abusing press freedom. The minister made the comment while addressing executives of the International Press Institute Nigerian chapter when they paid him a courtesy visit at his office in Abuja. Lai Mohammed also stated that Nigeria's press is one of the most vibrant and free in the world, and that the federal government is at the mercy of the media.
Nigerian media have no reason to fear the government, and that if anything, it is the government that is at the mercy of the media. This may be one of the very few countries in the world where a section of the media can refuse to recognize popular sovereignty. Or how else does one explain a situation in which a president who was duly elected by millions of Nigeria is willfully stripped of that title, president, and then cheekily cloaked in the garb of a dictator by playing up his military title? Ours must also be one of the few countries in the world where a reputable medium will report fake news, and when called out would not retract or apologize.
Well, let's take some reactions before we discuss. A Twitter user who goes by the name Saving Daniel pulled up a quote attributed to Lai Mohammed back in 2013 when he was defending the APC interim national chairman, Chief Bisi Akande, who accused President Jonathan of running a kindergarten presidency. Well, he wrote, "There's nothing strange or wrong in criticizing a democratically elected president. After all, he's neither an imperial president, a monarchy, nor an emperor." Well, this was back in 2013. I guess, sometimes you have to be careful with the things you say at this point, Tundu Abiola. I mean, information ministers, always having a way with his words.
I guess this is the challenge of democracy.
Yeah.
This is what you have to deal with in a democracy. You must have press freedom. The press is not under any entitlement to approve of every single action of the executive government at federal or state level. And the press has the right to accurately, factually report and analyze. And you can't, take us back to the dark days of tyranny in this country. This is democracy and people will speak. I imagine that the minister might be referring to one particular newspaper who announced in December of 2019 that henceforth they'll be referring to President Buhari as General Buhari because that was their way of protesting what they felt were abuses of the rule of law in this country, whereby court judgments were not obeyed and, contempt of court was rife. So I think that's what the minister might be referring to. He's also talking about the Press Freedom Index. Nigeria did quite badly at number 120, down 5 places in the Press Freedom Index. And that report points to the fact, refers to all powerful regional governors. You were saying something similar about them politically with the power of our governors here. How a governor raised a radio station because he did not appreciate their criticism, how journalists are arrested, how journalists are shot dead while they're covering protests, as we saw with what happened with the Shiite protests. So this is just the feedback that they're being given. Objective feedback, I want to imagine. And you can either accept it or reject it. It does not change the facts.
Yes. I mean, Rufai, do we really have press freedom in this country? I mean, just a couple of months back, we were talking about the Twitter ban.
Ojy, it's obvious we don't have press freedom. Ojy, you were in this country. Everybody was here. Dr. Bati Tundu, you were here when we reported what was happening on the streets. And we were fined millions of naira because we reported NSAS. And the government media outlet was doing a cooking show. They fined us millions of naira. We brought the chief regulator, the director general of the NBC, right here. And we asked him, prove to us that the videos we reported were fake. What equipment, what software did you use to analyze the videos we show for NSAS that were fake? The Director General couldn't answer. We have seen one too many times. You see, I think it was Edward Morrow that put it well, that says, in a country of wolves, the people will become the sheep. And we need to be careful. At first, this government needs to understand that if Nigeria does well, it is for all of us. And I constantly say it, we wish President Buhari well, because at first I'm a Nigerian. But we can also fold our hands when things are not working. As we speak today, things are not working. Look at the Vanguard journalist that was killed the other day. Till today, nothing has been done about the case. Look at the journalist that was arrested in Kano. Look at what happened to Agba Jalingo, a citizen journalist that was put in jail. Look at what happened to journalists all over the country. Minister Lai Mohammed, you see, we too, we are excited about telling good stories about Nigeria. Look at this morning, Tunu was tired of reporting bad news. Even I was tired. Don't you guys think that it affects our own mental health here? Sitting down here and reporting 50 killed, 100 killed tomorrow. You think we like to come and report this? We just want the country to be better. And it's not too much to ask for because this country is blessed. We see potential, we see greatness. That's why some of us don't want to jackpot. We want to stick it out because I know we've been hearing since 1960 that Nigeria go better. Because we believe someday it will really be better.
Well, nobody teaches doctors how to do their job. Nobody will even dare teach a carpenter how to cobble pieces of wood together, or tell a journalist how to prepare, a lawyer how to prepare a brief. But Nigerians are funny people when it comes to journalism. All kinds of persons give lectures to journalists on a daily basis. They speak on subjects they know nothing about, just because of the small money they've taken to buy a newspaper. That's the dilemma that we face in this job. And I hope that at this meeting between the International Press Institute Nigeria chapter and the Minister of Information, that somebody had enough balls, enough courage to correct the minister on his many gaffes in the statement that he made. I'll take a look at some of them. The first one, the editorial that he was referring to, was the editorial published by Punch newspaper. It was Punch, December 11, 2019. Buhari's lawlessness, our stand. And the newspaper said, look, we may say we are in a democracy, but this is not a democratic government, that they will refer to the president as general, right? Which was his title in his earlier career. And they said they will not refer to the administration as administration. They will refer to the administration as a regime. And that caused, a lot of reactions from government, from everybody. Punch went ahead and repeated the offense in a December 23, 2019 editorial with the title, The Buhari Editorial, Matters Arising. They repeated the offense and said they will continue to call him general and the administration regime. And they've been doing so since then. But in the first editorial, they put a caveat. They said, except the administration purges itself of its insufferable contempt for the rule of law. I'm quoting that editorial directly now. So it was Punch that did that, and they've remained on that part. So the minister should be very specific instead of saying a section of the media. Then he talked about sovereignty, popular sovereignty. The president does not constitute a sovereign. We are not under a monarchy, as he himself realized in that tweet that you quoted. Yes. The sovereignty of Nigeria resides in the people. That is the whole point of a democracy. So to say that people are insulting the president, they are calling him whatever, no, the sovereignty resides in the people. The more important point was a point raised by Femi Adesina in 2019 when he reacted to the Punch editorial. He said, look, that Punch can write this kind of editorial is an indication that there is freedom of speech in Nigeria, and that is the choice of the newspaper. That in any case, the president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces, and he had been a general once upon a time in his career. And therefore, he did not think that reference is pejorative. And to call the administration a regime, as far as they were concerned, is a matter of semantics. But obviously, Femi Adesina's position is not Minister Mohammed's point. Now, the minister also went ahead to give a lecture on ethics, on media ethics. You see the kind of thing we face in this profession. And he was saying, that journalists are reporting bad news, that he knows what their constitutional role is, but they should not act like the opposition. Now, what the Constitution says is that they should be the watchdog. Oh, so it's very good that the Minister Mohammed remembers Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution. And it says government is not the enemy of the media, that the media should not constitute itself into an enemy. So many contradictions here. And that's why I thought somebody should just have, raised his hand and say, thank you very much, sir, Honorable Minister. But this is our own position. There are doubt if our colleagues had the
I wish you were there,
opportunity.
Dr. Abati. I wish you were there. Well, thank you all for your beautiful analysis. That's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you tomorrow.